Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Hanging with Miss Spear. This is going to be a pretty short and sweet episode. When we left school, we were finishing up government, so I just want to make sure that we have a good understanding of just the three branches of government. So I'm going to do a tiny baby little review, won't take very long, just to make sure we really understand what the three branches of governments are and the purposes of those branches. So first of all, there are three branches of government. There's the executive, the judicial, and the legislative branches of government. Just because there's three branches doesn't mean they're totally separate. They all have to kind of work together to help the foundation of our entire government. So we'll just go with, let's start with the legislative branch, okay? When you think legislative branch of government, know that that has to do with making laws. The legislative branch of government is in charge of making the laws. It's made up of Congress and other several government agencies. The Congress has two parts. You have the House of Representatives and you have the Senate. Okay? Members of the House of Representatives and the Senate are all voted in office by American citizens from each state. So when you think legislative branch of government, you think making laws. Then the next government we have is the executive branch of government. When you think the executive branch of government, you need to think President of the United States, okay? The President of the United States is the head of the executive branch of government. Well, what does the executive branch do? The executive branch is in charge of making sure that the laws of the United States are obeyed. So that is the purpose of the executive branch of government. The president has a variety of different roles and responsibilities. I'm going to go over a couple of those, just so you know that the president doesn't solely work by themselves. They have help from the vice president, cabinet members, heads of other independent agencies, all sorts of things. And here are some of the things that those people do. So the president leads the country and commands the military. That is the job of the president. The vice president will actually become the president if the president can no longer do its job, and is also president of the Senate. That's what they do. Department heads advise the president on issues and help them carry out to make decisions by the government. So again, not just one sole person is in charge of everything. We have these three branches of government that work together to kind of make up our whole system of government, and it's important to have everyone work together. And the last branch of government we have is the judicial branch of government. This one is basically, it decides whether or not a law breaks the rules of the Constitution. So when you think judicial branch, you need to kind of think Constitution. So the purpose of the judicial branch is in charge of deciding the meaning of laws and how to apply them to real situations. And like I just said, making sure laws don't break the rules of the Constitution. The Constitution is the highest law of our nation. We talked about the Constitution earlier this year, so use that to kind of help you out. And if you need a refresher on Constitution, Brain Pop has an amazing Constitution video, so I would highly recommend you guys watch that one. The U.S. Supreme Court is the highest court in the United States. It's part of the judicial branch. The Supreme Court is made up of 9 judges called justices who are nominated by the president and confirmed by the Senate. The justices will hear cases that have made their way up through the court system. So, like I said, this wasn't a super long, in-depth one. This just kind of wraps up our whole government unit. Specifically, the three branches of government is where we left off. So just know there are three branches of government: the executive, judicial, and legislative branch of government. When you think of the legislative branch, know that that has to do with making laws. When you think of the executive branch, know that that has to do with the President of the United States. And then when you think of the judicial branch, know that that has to do with the Constitution and making sure laws don't break the Constitution. But that's all there is. There's also, speaking of Brain Pop, there's also a really good three branches of government Brain Pop if you'd like to watch that as well. You have all of you guys have access to that. So if you want to use or watch that, I would highly recommend you do that as well. There's quizzes attached to it and little games and activities. You could, if you want to go further with the branch of government, you guys can kind of research the branches of government, make a little branch of government tree with each little branch having to do with one of the branches of government. Whatever you want, you can do what you need. But I just want to make sure I give you guys a little recap of the branch of government. You guys have a wonderful day. I love you and miss you very much.